Hey there YouTube, Fleet Feet here. I just wanted to show you guys a build that I've been working on lately, where I just rush European rams at someone about as early as I can without totally sacrificing my economy. I definitely wouldn't call it a great build overall, but it's certainly something different and new that you could try if you wanted to just get away from running at someone with spears or horsemen or a whole bunch of Asian units or whatever you've been doing. It's different, it's new, people don't know what the hell to do with it, it's pretty fucking funny to watch. Check it out. So there's nothing particularly fancy going on in the opening here. Normal stuff, build a hut. Probably shouldn't build it so far away from my wood, but it doesn't really matter. Kind of our goal for this build is just to get to the Iron Age as fast as we can as Europe, which means that we kind of want to build as few huts as possible. We want to get our temple set up in a decent spot where ideally we have access to iron right away because we're going to need that to get to the Iron Age. And kind of set ourselves up in a way where we can defend ourselves if we need to, but we shouldn't have to. I'm just going to get rid of the bulwark because it's going to slow down my woodworkers and do absolutely nothing for me this game. So we're just going to get it out of the way. I'm a bit late to get my scout started moving, but again, it doesn't really matter. War Selection's not a really refined game at this point. There aren't really hard timings that you need to hit. So as long as you're doing all of the basic stuff, you should be fine. Here, my worker abandoned ship and didn't want to build the next hut, and instead I sent him up there. Must have miscued him with my scout. So I have to send 4 workers to go build a hut. It's not optimal, but as you can see, or will see, I'll still get some rams out at about 11 minutes, and I'll still get to punch some people in the buildings. Now, this build is not necessarily just good for backline or just good for frontline. It's kind of an all-around build. I wouldn't necessarily strongly recommend doing it on the front line just because you'll have to rely heavily on towers and not units to defend yourself, as you'll see as the build shapes out. But still, it should work just about anywhere. It is very counterable and very defendable, but in most cases at this point, people will panic as soon as they see the rams and just freak out and do a bunch of stuff. We'll see a little bit of that later. As for what we're going on in the build, we're just going to build until we're at 30 maximum supply cap. So that's, what, 7 huts, I think? Oh, looks like 6. 6 huts. Then we'll get 2 people to go build our temple. We'll get somebody else to build us another hut shortly after that starts. But we've only gotten the firewood collecting upgrade. So our wood collectors are slightly faster, but we are not getting the berry one because we want to get our temple down fast. So we need that wood. Another thing that I'd be thinking about at this point in the game is making sure that my scout gets to find me a place where it will be safe to build a bunch of stables really far forward, as close as I can to an enemy's base, without getting mauled to shit by animals. It's kind of important that you manage to do that. You can do a bunch of micro tricks to keep your workers alive, and kind of pick which ones get hit by animals on their way through. I didn't have to do much of that this game, but there are options there, and it's kind of fun to play with that if you can manage all of your micro. Also, just for the future, I almost always play with borders on and with team colors, so I'm green, my allies are yellow, and the enemies are red, but this is shortly after an update, so you'll see some weird things with slightly different models, and also apparently there's a bug with those. So the borders will just not mean anything this game. You'll be able to see, like, the cyan one in the kind of bottom left of the map there it'll just stay there for the rest of the game and confuse me quite a lot. So at this point we've started, or after our temple finished, we immediately started researching the European Bronze Age. So it's going happily along. We have enough wood to collect it. We don't really have enough wood to do much of anything else yet, but over the next, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, we'll finally start to get that spike from our workers, get enough to put warehouses down and optimize what they're doing. Right now I have too many that are going back to the altar there, so they're bumbling over each other and slowing each other down a lot. Another thing that I probably already did at this point is, I put another few workers onto food because we're going Europe so early. We do need a lot of food to upgrade our workers sooner rather than later when we hit Iron or Bronze Age. So the more food we can get, the more value we can get out of those berries, the more resource efficient we're being in the long run. Here you can see, as I was talking about before, kind of scouting out where I want my stables to go, and this map actually ended up extremely good for it. A lot of the time there are bad chokes all over the place, and like rams are giant and stupid, so trying to fit them through anywhere is just a nightmare. Don't do it. If you can't find a good spot for your rams to build, just like I've literally played this build and then zerged my workers through somebody's territory and built it like between two people's bases. As you'll see as we go forward, it's not that as easy to defend as you might think it is, so you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff. The biggest fear to your workers is honestly your enemy noticing that they're there and then running them down with anything, or just getting mauled by animals in the woods. After Bronze Age finishes, we're just going to queue up another couple of workers just because it smooths things out to do that. We're going to upgrade as many people as we can and send 10 to 12 of them to go build us a farm so that we can start getting any food. I'm just selectively upgrading houses here just so I don't get population capped. I'm going to delete some as well just so I don't have to spend as many resources to get to Iron Age. And the timing for soon in this build, we're going to take up to 6 workers and we're going to send them into the Great Beyond to go build the stables for us. The timing for that should be about 20 or 30 seconds before you're going to start Iron Age. It depends on the distance. Here I'm going to have to go, like this is a 6v6 map, I guess, and I'm going to have to go about half, if not more, of the map to build my stables, so I should send them earlier rather than later. But in this case, I know that I don't. But we'll see. We'll see the impact of that in a bit. Yep. So sometimes for this build, I'll get the vision upgrade first because the way that this works out, you end up with 6 workers or up to 6 workers kind of at their front door. It helps a whole lot to have vision and then plonk down a couple of towers while you're up there. Because you get vision for your team, you kind of build this frontal bastion that they don't, like your opponents don't have time to deal with. You can kind of set up a fortress there and it'll hold for a long time usually. It's not that easy to take down because buildings are way too strong in this game and it's very hard to crack them. So you can see I only just sent my workers out and I just started Iron Age about, 10 seconds ago. I'm also screwing it up a bit. I didn't have my dudes on iron in time, so you'll see me hit 0 iron a couple of times. Again, this slows down the timing a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. The general premise of the thing works as long as you can execute this build and have your rams out by 11 minutes and 30 seconds. They'll still be plenty effective. So I know that area that I just placed all those stables is safe, and there aren't any annoying cows in the way. I know this because of my scout earlier, who's now, I believe, just AFK somewhere, but, you know, it happens. I also know that I do not need a bunch of houses right now. I do not need a whole bunch of supply because I am building 4 stables and I'm not building basically anything else except for rams. So I can leave myself at having... Well, I guess that's important. You might have noticed I skipped the first population upgrade for now to rush Iron Age faster. Saves you 60 seconds, you don't need the pop. It's great. Just do it. Yeah, so my Iron Age is about 45 seconds from finishing. We're going to get one of my workers tragically died, or I lost the hotkey on him, not sure which. But my friendly neighbor here has built a wall in my way, so again, the colors are all screwed up. He's purple, but I call him yellow anyway. Ask him to put a hole in the wall for me so my workers can get through and go start messing people up. This is at about 9 minutes in the game, I think. Maybe a bit earlier, maybe 8:30. In any case, my Iron Age is going to finish at this rate. I know it's going to finish well before my stables are down. So it's going to slow down my timing a little bit. That's fine. I still get the rams out in time, and I still put a hole in someone's base. Considering I'm about to hit Iron Age, I'm doing okay on resources. I try not to stockpile too many resources. Ideally, I'd be stockpiling a bit more food, but it doesn't super matter. I hit Iron Age, and because I know I'm going to spend a bit of time here, I'll start upgrading the warehouse upgrades and the farm upgrade, because I'm not going to have a ton of resources to do anything else. Just avoiding those 4 animals up there that I had stealthily snuck around. And I'm also going to set up some fisher, or what are they called? Docks? Docks. I'm going to set up some docks so I can get fish, because again, all I will probably have on the map for units is anywhere between 4 to 8 rams, and they're just going to take supply, and I'll have a bunch of extra supply sitting around. So because my forward workers need to do something and not be lazy slobs, they get a warehouse, they get to build, or they get to farm a bunch of trees. And once those stables finished, I queued up exactly 8 rams. It's not hard and fast that you need to do that. You can get away with building 3 stables. There's my AFK scout. You can get away with building 3 stables if you want. You can get away with building 5. It's kind of a matter of preference and kind of how well you want to push yourself into the late game. Just don't build more than 2 sets of rams. They're like a lot of timing units. They get really bad really quickly, and you'll see that my last couple of rams just don't accomplish anything anymore. But the first rams will absolutely trounce some stuff and be very cost efficient for me for the cost of a lot of my economy, honestly. Like, I could have a way more robust economy if I was just backline IR1 rushing or something. But that's not the point of this build. The point of this build is not do the best thing that you can do. It's do something different, because you've probably European spear rushed at this point, or you've probably done a horseman rush or a light knight rush when it was viable. It's just like, this is a different thing to do that it's funny to watch people be super caught off guard. Yeah, nothing fancy going on in my base, just building houses in ways that defend me in case some horsemen come on flying on by. Getting my forge up just so that I can put up towers if I need to. I've gone way, way, way in the back, so I don't really need to put up towers unless somebody comes running at me. And I should be able to see them coming well before they get here. My first set of rams are out. One of your goals when you have your first set of rams come out is to get them as far away from each other as possible. I'm a bit not well set up for it here, because there's like, they have to funnel through that choke essentially to get anywhere, but still they can, if I can get one of them to go, once we get view of it, it'll make more sense. So if I get one of them to go all the way down to that tower, and one of them to go to that warehouse, and then that one to go all the way down to the docks way down there, then I change my mind and go, wait, no, that I can get them further away from each other if I send that guy all the way in, and then send that one to the tower. The reason that you want to do this is that the rams, as you will see shortly, are very stupid and will block each other like no other. So the closer they are together, the more likely they are to get stuck on each other or stuck on units that are chasing the other rams. Whereas the further away they are from each other, the harder it is for your opponent to keep track of them, respond to what they're doing, and surround them with units. You'll also notice they don't take any fucking damage. Like, they have well engaged my first set of rams at this point. That one's getting stabbed with spears as we speak. Oh look, it's still got a quarter life. For some reason, rams count as buildings in war selection. It isn't actually relevant for European spears. They do 6 damage, they have a 0.8 attack speed. They don't have a special building damage, but slingers, for example, have a special building damage. Archers have a special building damage. So a lot of the units that your opponents will have at this timing aren't any good against rams. Like, it takes them actually forever to kill them. And in the time that they kill the first, like, they killed 1 ram, my next set of rams is probably about 3/4 done. So they're not going to win that war. If I wanted to just keep spamming out rams, the person that is defending, the singular person, won't be able to get ahead of it. My second set of rams is out. They've killed 1, and they've killed a third of the second one. And the only goal for them is just to be annoying, just to stomp as much stuff as possible. Like, our enemy here is doing an okay job of defending. He's not losing that much. He should be surrounding the rams at every given opportunity, but most people haven't seen this before and don't know what to do about it. There's very little at this point in the game that he could have that does any damage to rams, except for rams themselves. But they're a frontline, like they're hard frontline, so the chances of them having rushed Iron Age to get any Iron Age tech is very, very low. Doesn't matter if they have walls. Walls will slow them down because you need to clear out 3 sections of wall for a ram to fit through it, but it's still fine. And my second set of rams, I think I have one ram that's AFK somewhere, but it happens. Yeah, finally he got us around on one of the rams, so eventually he gets to kill that one. Alright, I had one going around the top. Part of the reason I like builds like this is that it can be challenging to maintain where your rams are going and what you're doing while making sure that your base is still building stuff at home. So you can see that I'm kind of stockpiling a little bit of resources. I haven't upgraded my farm yet. I have a bunch of boats that I could upgrade. Macro in War Selection is generally pretty easy because a lot of it is fire and forget. Like, you don't need to remember to queue workers every 9 seconds. You could just queue up 25 of them and carry on. In other games, you'll get punished for doing that kind of thing. War Selection's all about it. Now, we're kind of at the point where I've built my first 8 rams. They're stomping somebody's base. It's great. He's getting a little bit of support from his allies to help defend this, and also one of my allies is attacking another guy, so it's chaos on their front line. They're not having a great day. But my transition out of this is just going to be to go East or West Europe would be totally fine and viable. It would change how you set yourself up going out of it, because Eastern Europe, you're going to have to do a stable-centric play, and it's awkward to do that having started building horsemen so late, and with your stables on the front line. So I generally go West Europe. I generally just get shooting ranges. And I will, from that point, set up a defensive front with walls if I need them, and towers and longbows while I tech straight to IR. There are a couple of holes in my economy still that I could patch up. I generally am not a good mid to late game player. I love being aggressive. I love stupid builds in the early game. I'll do all kinds of proxy heavy spear Asia rushes and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I just like to run at people. Again, rams, just trying to move them around and get as much punching done as possible. The way that this guy's laid out his base is good for him because it means that I can't just send my rams far apart. Again, I'm forced through this little choke, and you'll see that as soon as they're close to each other, they're just not anywhere near as effective. Like, those 2 rams, one of them's going to kill a house, and then the other one's just going to stare at that front one until it dies. There's not much of anything that they can do. And this is why, like, you could see, if I had another 4 rams that had popped out of my stables, they wouldn't do anything. By the time they got to this base, they would just get assaulted by spearmen. As it is, I built 8 rams and took out some 20 buildings. The person that I'm attacking directly, his everything is in shambles, and it cost me a bit of my economy. It cost me some rams, but it set up so much other stuff in the process that defended properly, this build would be awful. If you play it against a good player and they know what the heck it is, it's not good. But it doesn't matter. Like, it's a fun part of War Selection where it looks stupid. Like, imagine the feeling of the person that just got attacked by 8 rams over the course of 5 minutes. Is like, he was doing his best to defend it, and the whole time he's probably just going, oh shit, what the hell do I do? Because the things don't die. Yeah. And more or less, you'll see as the last of my rams try valiantly to kill anything. That's the build. This guy's base is in shambles. He doesn't actually die. He did a decent job of defending and repaired the correct things and didn't repair the other things. From looking at the replay, I remember him being at like 60 supply and 27 available supply population or something. He has no houses. He's screwed as far as economy goes. He still has all of his workers and everything, but he can't build an army. So as soon as anybody else attacks him, he's in deep trouble. And as I mentioned, you can kind of do whatever you wanted from here. If you wanted to transition into Europe and follow up with a horseman attack of some kind, if you wanted to build a bunch of cuirassiers and go raiding, you could do that. You have assaulted their front line directly, so depending on how the map is set up, you've either put a hole through the wall yourself, or there was no time for the wall to get set up in the first place. So if you wanted to go horseman and run around like crazy, you probably could. I just haven't played that much West Europe, because it doesn't have a lot of early aggro opportunities. so it's not really my playstyle. So I've been playing Western Europe lately just to get a feel for it. Yeah, I think that's just about enough talking for me. I'm going to leave it there for you guys. You can watch out the rest of the game if you'd like to. I'd just go for ints, but by the time that I get IR, the game is pretty much over. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. Catch you guys out on the battlefield. Seriously though, if somebody does this build and I am just backline and suddenly there are a bunch of rams in my shit, I'm going to be so proud. God, I'm going to be so proud. Alright, catch y'all later.